Jesus calls himself God or is either referenced as God more times than you may have realized in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Check this out. Next, we move on to Matthew 7:21, which reads, "Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness." So in this section of Matthew, which is once again Matthew 7:21, it is Jesus speaking. And here's the key thing that we need to look at. Jesus is saying that people are going to call me Lord, Lord, right here. So the title Lord, Lord is only given to God. Under traditional Jewish culture, that is a title that's only being referenced to God. So he's saying, hey, they're going to call me Lord, Lord. They're going to call me the Almighty God. They're going to call me El Shaddai. Like that's what he's alluding to here. That's what he's talking about. Further on in Matthew chapter 9, looking at verse 18, what it says is, while he spoke these things to him, behold, a ruler came and worshipped him, saying, my daughter has just died, but come and lay your hand on her and she will live. Now, you might think like, hey, this isn't very significant because he was just amazed at what Jesus was doing. No. Jesus takes worship very seriously, and we understand that within the context of Matthew chapter 4, when Satan tries to tempt Jesus in the wilderness. So Satan brings Jesus up to a high point and essentially says, if you worship me, I will give you all the kingdoms of the world. And this is what Jesus responds with, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. So when Satan said, hey, worship me, Jesus says, only worship God, only serving God, putting those two things together. And so then we have Jesus here in Matthew 9, verses 18, accepting worship from this ruler and saying nothing about it. I think that would be rather odd unless Jesus is clearly identifying it is okay to worship him because he's God. I love this one probably the most out of every example. This is Matthew 22, verses 41 through 45. While the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them, saying, what do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? They said to him, the son of David. Then he said to them, how then does David in the Spirit call him Lord, saying, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand, till I make your enemies your footstool. If David then calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor from that day on did anyone dare question him anymore. And by the way, I didn't add these other references, but Jesus had been called the son of David multiple times by multiple people in multiple different places and multiple different occasions. So that title, son of David, he had willingly and knowingly been receiving by the masses, by the people. But what Jesus is trying to allude to, using logic and using the scriptures, and I think he does a pretty good job of it, he's saying, hey, how could the son of David, the Christ, God in the flesh, how could David call him Lord? Because if he's a son of David, meaning a fleshly son of David, that fleshly son would be subservient to David because he is a son. But Jesus gives him that, gives him the authority, gives him that title, gives him that stature, right in alignment with God himself by calling him Lord. The Lord said to my Lord. That's what Jesus is getting at here, and they completely missed it when he was talking about it to them.